My name is Rowan Elise Hart, 34 years old. 3 weeks before Christmas, my brother Zach texted me a sentence that didn't sound like him, even in bubbles. Zach, money's tight this year. We're keeping it low key. No kids, just adults. Hope that's cool. No kids, just adults. From the same man who rented a snow machine last December and declared Swiss Miss a hate crime against children. From the same couple, Zach and Melissa, who start planning in August and once asked me to split the bill on an inflatable sleigh I still dream about deflating. I typed sure and told myself it was fine. It had already been a year that chewed and swallowed us. Jonah's dad moved across the country in June. Instead of dragging Jonah through a custody mess, I said yes to primary custody, yes to fewer vacations, longer hours, budgeting like a second language. It was the right yes. He's 9, and he's mine in all the ways that matter. When I told him there wouldn't be a party, he just nodded. He didn't argue or cry. He watched a patch of wall like he'd been practicing for this kind of news. I hated how fluent he is in disappointment that isn't his fault. I tried to believe the text. Maybe Melissa's boutique was slow. Maybe Zach finally discovered what a spreadsheet is. Maybe this was the year moderation learned our address. 2 nights before Christmas, I came home with a last-minute gift Jonah wanted to send his cousin, Zach's youngest, still hoping the kids might exchange something even if the party was off. I had 2 paper bags biting into my fingers when Jonah said, quiet and even, from the kitchen table, "Why not us?" He didn't look up. He tapped his tablet and rotated it toward me. Melissa's Instagram slid past like a commercial with a grudge. Carousels of kids, cousins, neighbors, church friends, face paint, candy canes, Santa with the real beard in the same rental suit I paid for 2 years ago, fake snow choking their driveway, a bouncy house blinking joy in the backyard. In one photo, Jonah's cousin tore into a massive Lego set while his name burned in marquee lights behind him. The caption, "Creating magic for the best kids in the world." The room tilted. I didn't say anything. I couldn't find the mouth for it. I knew what it was. This wasn't about money. It was about us, about me being inconvenient and Jonah not fitting the picture they wanted to post. Jonah went to bed without commentary. I sat in the dark with the tree we'd decorated together, waiting for presents I usually stash until the 24th because that's when we go to Zach's and Santa learns our temporary forwarding address. I opened my laptop. On Tuesday, I had received a tuition payment receipt, Stanford $12,900 for Emma's spring semester. They didn't know it was me. In August, Mom had called crying about maxed out cards and an uncovered gap. I said, "I'll handle it." Money like that leaves in silence. That's the rule when you're the dependable one. I found the email, cropped out everything but the paid stamp and the amount, and screenshot it. No caption. No explanation. 10:03 p.m. I texted it to Zach. The read receipt blinked alive, then went dead. No question mark. No all. By morning, my phone had tried to shake itself off the nightstand. 37 missed calls, all from Mom. Something had shifted. I could feel it humming under the skin of the day like electricity before a storm. I made coffee. I didn't call back. I waited. The first call came before sunrise. Mom's name glowed across my phone like a fire alarm I didn't want to answer. By the 5th attempt, I caved. "Why would you do this, Rowan?" she demanded before I could say hello. "Do what?" "Cancel Emma's tuition payment." Her voice cracked, like it had been rehearsed, softened for guilt. "Zach just got a notice from the bursar. Do you understand what you've started?" I sipped my coffee, let her fill the silence. "What I started," I said finally, "was asking why my 9-year-old saw his cousins and every neighbor's kid celebrating Christmas while we were told there was no party this year." There was a pause, then the sound of papers rustling, like she needed backup notes for her excuses. "Oh, sweetheart," she sighed. "It wasn't personal. Melissa didn't want to overwhelm the house this year. You know how many people—" "Mom," my voice came out low, steady. "Jonah saw the photos. He asked why not us." She tried again. "Maybe it was Melissa's idea. Maybe Zach didn't know. They were going to invite you last minute, but it filled up too fast." "Mom, stop. They lied." Her tone changed from soothing to sharp, the way it always did when empathy cost too much. "You're overreacting. Don't take it out on Emma. She's innocent." "Innocent," I repeated. "So is Jonah." Silence again, this one heavy and exposed. "I'm not punishing Emma," I said. "I'm just done being the family's backup wallet." Then I hung up. By noon, the group text with my family started blinking like an emergency broadcast. Mom, we need to fix this before dinner tonight. Zach, things got out of hand, but you don't take it out on Emma. Melissa, passive aggression isn't cute, Rowan. You could have talked to us like adults. I stared at their words and saw the same message layered underneath. Play your role. Pretend this didn't happen. Be useful again. I typed my response slowly. Rowan, Jonah and I will not be attending Christmas dinner. Don't worry about gifts. We won't be part of this anymore. Then I muted the chat. 5 minutes later, my phone rang again. Not Zach, not Mom, Emma. I hesitated, then answered. She was crying. And Rowan, I didn't know about the party, I swear. I thought you and Jonah were coming. I even got him something. Her voice broke. It's a Switch game. He mentioned it once when we FaceTimed. I used my tutoring money. My chest ached. Emma, it's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. She sniffled. They didn't tell me anything. They've been acting weird for weeks. Fake. Like they're posing for each other. Before I could say anything, another voice cut in. Loud, tight, and angry. Emma, hang up right now. Melissa. Aunt Rowan, Emma whispered. I didn't mean... Give me the phone. Then Melissa's voice took over, sharp as broken glass. You are poisoning this family, she hissed. You're turning your son against us. And now my daughter's in tears. Are you proud of that? I didn't answer. I just pressed end call. That evening, Jonah and I stayed home. We made pizza from scratch, burned half of it, laughed anyway. He watched Home Alone on the couch, fell asleep halfway through with melted cheese still on his fingers. Around 11, I tucked him in under the flickering glow of the tree and placed one wrapped gift underneath. A custom Lego Millennium Falcon. I'd been saving it for Christmas morning. The house was silent, except for the hum of the fridge and the faint whistle of wind against the windows. For the first time, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt honest. At 10:46 p.m., my phone buzzed. Zach. Zach. Mom's crying. Everyone's miserable. I hope you're happy. I stared at the screen, the irony of it burning like static. Happy? I thought about Jonah's face when he saw that photo, the quiet confusion, the way he didn't cry because he already knew what being left out felt like. No, I wasn't happy, but I was awake. And I was done pretending that being needed was the same thing as being loved. The next morning, Christmas Day, the sun came up soft and gold through the frost. Jonah tore into his gift, eyes wide. Mom, you actually found it. I had help, I said. Santa's resourceful. He grinned. Do you think Santa knows we stayed home this year? I smiled. Santa knows exactly where we are. We built the first section of the Falcon together, hands brushing over pieces of gray plastic that somehow felt sacred. No noise, no fake laughter, just us. For a moment, I almost forgot the world outside our small living room. Then my phone buzzed again. Blocked number. Hello? A man's voice. Flat. Official. Ma'am, this is Deputy Carson with the County Sheriff's Office. We received a call requesting a welfare check on you and your son. My stomach dropped. What? He cleared his throat. The caller expressed concern about possible neglect. Said your son might be in distress over the holidays. I closed my eyes. Melissa. Deputy, I said, calm but shaking. You're welcome to come by, but my son's fine. He's building a Lego spaceship in his pajamas. He hesitated, maybe embarrassed. I'm sure he is, ma'am. We just have to check. Routine. 10 minutes later, he knocked, looked around our tidy living room, saw Jonah's grin and the half-built Falcon, and apologized. Looks like you're both doing just fine, he said. We are, I replied. We really are. When the door shut behind him, Jonah asked, Was that Santa's helper? Sort of, I said. Just someone checking if we're okay. Are we? I met his eyes, better than ever. But inside, I knew this wasn't over. This wasn't concern. This was control. The next move in a game I hadn't realized my family was willing to play. And that's when something in me finally broke, not loudly, but cleanly. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. By the next morning, the anger had cooled into something sharper. Focus. I'd spent the night staring at the ceiling, watching the room go from dark to gray to gold, while Jonah slept peacefully in the next room. He deserved peace. I wasn't going to let anyone, especially family, turn that into leverage. At 8:12 a.m., I called a lawyer. Not because I planned to sue anyone, not yet. Because when people show you they're willing to lie to authorities to get their way, you stop waiting for decency and start preparing for defense. Her name was Allison, soft-spoken, the kind of person who could turn fury into strategy. After I told her everything, the exclusion, the tuition, the welfare check, she said quietly, They're using institutional systems to punish you for setting boundaries. That's emotional retaliation. You did the right thing calling me." I didn't realize until then how much I needed someone to say that. By the end of the call, she had drafted a cease and desist order addressed to Zach and Melissa. It was professional but surgical. No contact, no phone calls, no surprise visits, no gifts for Jonah, no attempts to communicate through family members, social media, or third parties. Any future harassment would result in immediate legal action. I signed it digitally, hit send, and copied my mother on the email. Let them all see the paper trail. The group chat went dead within minutes. It was eerie, like the quiet after fireworks, the smell of smoke still there, but the noise gone. 2 days later, I came back from lunch to find my mother sitting on the hood of my car in the office parking lot. She looked small, shoulders rounded in a way I hadn't seen since I was a teenager. For a split second, instinct made me soften. Then I remembered why she was there. "Mom," I said, sighing, "this isn't a good place for—" She cut me off. "You can't do this to us." I blinked. "Do what? Protect my son?" She slid off the hood, clutching her purse like it was full of excuses. "Melissa's a wreck. Zach's barely sleeping. The mortgage is behind. Emma's about to drop out because that payment you canceled." "The payment I never owed anyone?" Her voice wobbled. "You've always been the one who keeps this family together. If you keep this up, everything will fall apart." "Then maybe it should." Her eyes went wide. "Rowan, you don't mean that." "I do." She pulled out an envelope. "They wanted me to give you this." Inside were Christmas cards, unopened, stacked, names in cursive. I could feel the plastic edge of a gift card in one. Hallmark apologies. Expensive guilt. "They're trying," she said. "They're saying sorry in their way." "Funny," I said, flipping through them. "How none of these showed up before Jonah saw those photos." She hesitated. "You're being cruel." "I'm being clear," I said. "You're all very sorry that I stopped being useful." She flinched. "That's not fair." "No," I said. "What wasn't fair was letting my son believe Santa forgot him because you were all too busy protecting Melissa's image." Her face crumpled. "She made a mistake." "She made a choice," I corrected. "And so did Zach. And so did you, every time you covered for them." Mom's lip trembled. "Rowan, please, we need you back." I laughed, not because it was as funny, but because the truth hit me mid-air. "You don't need me, Mom. You need my help. And those aren't the same thing." For a moment, she looked at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. Maybe she didn't. The dependable daughter had left the building. That night, I sat on the couch while Jonah finished the last section of his Lego Falcon. He concentrated hard, tongue poking out slightly the way he did when he built things. When he clicked the final piece in place, he looked up at me, proud. "There," he said. "Finished." "Looks perfect," I said. He smiled, then got quiet. "Are we still mad at them?" I thought about that. The question wasn't simple. "No," I said finally. "Mad takes energy. We're just done." He nodded like he understood more than a 9-year-old should. "I don't want to see them," he said. "Ever." "You won't have to." He leaned against my arm, the warmth of him grounding me. "Good." On the TV, a Christmas movie played in the background, all fake snow and perfect families. Jonah pointed at the screen. "You think that's real?" "No," I said, "but I think we can build something better." The next morning, my phone buzzed. A message from Allison, my lawyer. "Documents confirmed. Cease and desist officially delivered. Tracking indicates both parties signed for it." Beneath that, a second notification. From my mother. "Melissa's upset. She says you're tearing the family apart." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The family had already torn itself apart. I just stopped holding the pieces together. For the first time in years, I wasn't bracing for the next request, the next guilt trip, the next emergency. No one was asking. No one was taking. The quiet felt dangerous at first, then exhilarating. That night, I poured a glass of wine, stood by the window, and looked out at the frost starting to form on the street. My reflection looked unfamiliar, less tired, more certain. I realized I'd crossed something invisible, but irreversible. It wasn't rebellion, it was survival. And I wasn't going back. January came and went, carrying with it the kind of silence that feels more like a test than a truce. No calls, no surprise visits, not even the usual "hope you're well" guilt texts. It was eerie at first, like waiting for the other shoe to drop in an empty house. But then I realized something. I wasn't waiting anymore. I'd stopped expecting them to change, but the universe, or fate, or maybe just family chaos, wasn't done testing that resolve. It arrived in a white envelope postmarked mid-February, gold embossed lettering, the kind that tries too hard. You're invited. Amanda's son turns 5. Saturday, backyard party. Everyone's coming. Would love to see you and Jonah. Jonah spotted it before I did. Everyone? He asked, his voice flat. Yes, I said quietly, even them. He didn't say anything for a moment. Then, after a long pause, we should go. I blinked. You sure? He nodded. I want to see if they pretend again. That's the thing about kids. They don't crave revenge. They crave truth. So we went. Saturday was mild, the kind of day that tricks you into thinking winter's over. The backyard was dressed in pastel balloons and plastic tables, juice boxes sweating in coolers. Children ran circles through the grass, while parents clutched paper plates and tried to look like they were enjoying themselves. It felt familiar, too familiar. The second we walked in, I felt eyes on us, half curious, half awkward. Some smiled, tight-lipped, others turned away entirely. Then, near the patio umbrella, I saw them. Melissa in oversized sunglasses, dressed like she was hosting a charity gala instead of a 5-year-old's party. Zach beside her, laugh too loud, drink too forced. They both spotted us within seconds, and suddenly the entire yard felt like a stage. Melissa moved first. She glided across the grass like a woman heading to a podium, her tone syrupy sweet. Rowan, she said, crouching down to Jonah's level before even looking at me. We're so happy to see you both. We've missed you. Jonah didn't answer. She kept smiling. You've gotten so tall. We were just talking about you last week, weren't we, Zach? He approached from behind her, voice cautious. Yeah, buddy. We've all been worried. We didn't mean for things to get so complicated. I could hear the script unfolding. Remorse without ownership, apology without admission. Jonah looked at Melissa, then at Zach. His expression didn't shift. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm, but his words cut clean. You invited every cousin, he said slowly. Every neighbor. You even hired Santa. Melissa blinked, her smile faltering. Oh, sweetheart, that was... You didn't forget us, he said. You just didn't want us. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Zach tried to salvage it. Hey, Jonah, it wasn't like that. We were just trying to keep things simple this year. Jonah turned to me. Can we go now? I nodded. Melissa reached out, voice trembling. Rowan, please. But I was already guiding Jonah through the crowd. We passed clusters of relatives pretending not to watch, people who suddenly found their phones fascinating, conversations evaporating mid-sentence. No one stopped us. No one said goodbye. In the car, Jonah was quiet for a long time, watching the sky blur through his window. I waited. I've learned kids will talk when they're ready. Finally, he said, I don't think they're going to change. I don't either, I said. He looked down at his hands, fidgeting with the sleeve of his hoodie. I don't want them to. That made me turn. You don't? He shook his head. If they change, they'll just pretend again. I want them to stay who they are, so we can stay different. His words landed like a quiet truth I'd been circling for months. You're right, I said softly. We'll just be different. When we got home, the air felt lighter somehow, like we'd left something heavy behind in that backyard. Jonah ran to Chewy, the rescue dog we'd started fostering, and collapsed onto the floor beside him, laughing as the little mutt licked his face. See, Mom? He said, grinning. Chewy doesn't care about parties. I smiled. Smart dog. That night, after Jonah fell asleep, I sat by the half-finished Falcon on the shelf. The pieces we hadn't added yet sat waiting in a small plastic bag. I opened it, clipped the last wing into place, and set it on the stand above the TV. When I stepped back, I realized it looked like a trophy, not for the fight, but for surviving it. The phone buzzed on the counter, a text from Emma. I saw what happened today. I'm sorry. I wish I could have said something. I typed back. You didn't need to. Jonah said everything that mattered. Then I turned off my phone. Because for once, I didn't need an audience. I already had the truth. 2 months later, the house was quiet in all the right ways. Not the brittle, tiptoeing silence of a family bracing for another explosion, but real silence. The kind that hums softly under morning coffee, that smells like pancakes and a clean slate. No texts, no phone calls, no surprise visits disguised as checking in. The peace was almost suspicious at first, but eventually I let myself believe it. Because maybe the absence of noise wasn't a warning. Maybe it was healing. I spent one Saturday morning going through old mail and realized how many envelopes I'd stopped opening years ago. Bills that weren't mine, but I'd paid anyway. letters about urgent tuition gaps, invitations that always came with an unspoken price tag. There were so many small ways I'd been funding their version of love. I poured everything, receipts, reminders, every faded IOU, into the fireplace and watched them curl to ash. It wasn't revenge, it was release. When the last scrap burned out, I felt something unhook inside me. By March, the family fund account was officially closed. I went to the bank, signed the forms, and told the teller I wanted to dissolve the joint emergency fund that bore my name. "Are you sure?" she asked, eyes darting to the form. "This one's been active for 12 years. "I'm sure," I said. "It's been draining me longer than that." She nodded, typed a few lines, and stamped the paperwork. That small thunk of the rubber seal felt louder than a door slam. The days started finding their rhythm again. Jonah and I began volunteering on Saturdays at the local animal shelter. He fell in love with a scrappy little terrier mix that kept trying to climb into his hoodie pocket. We named him Chewie after his favorite Star Wars character. 3 weeks later, we adopted him for real. When we brought Chewie home, Jonah knelt beside him and whispered, "You belong here now." I don't think he realized he was talking to himself, too. The family tried, of course. They always do, eventually. First, it was Aunt Brenda's Fresh Start text thread. Long paragraphs about forgiveness, new beginnings, and the power of Easter. Then a cousin sent a baby video, because family's too important to lose over a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. That word again. The family's favorite way to label a betrayal too ugly to face. I ignored them all, except for one message from Emma. "I'm sorry, Aunt Rowan, not just for Christmas, for all of it. I know they made you carry everything. I see it now." I didn't tell her it wasn't her fault. She already knew. Instead, I wrote back, "Thank you for saying it. Take care of yourself. That's all I ever wanted for any of us." And that was enough. In April, we got our first snow, an unseasonal flurry that melted before noon. Jonah ran outside anyway, flinging handfuls of wet flakes into the air. "They're barely snowballs," I laughed. He grinned, cheeks flushed. "It still counts." Later that evening, we booked a trip for next winter, somewhere north, where snow didn't need permission to fall. A real snowball fight, a real Christmas next time. One built on truth, not performance. The family didn't crumble the way Mom feared. It didn't need to. It simply revealed itself. Brittle where I'd thought it was solid, hollow where I'd once poured myself full. Zach and Melissa are still together, but barely. Emma deferred a semester, moved in with friends, and from what I hear, she's happier than she's been in years. Mom's still trying to patch things together, but the cracks are too wide now. You can't glue something back with guilt once the glue itself was manipulation. One night, Jonah sat cross-legged on the floor beside me, petting Chewie, watching Empire Strikes Back for the 100th time. He looked up mid-battle scene and said, "You know, Mom, I think we're the rebels." "The rebels?" I asked, smiling. "Yeah," he said. "They didn't have the biggest army or the best ships, but they still won, because they didn't give up on each other." I felt that more deeply than he knew. He was right. We were the rebels. Small, outnumbered, but finally free. Now, the Falcon we built sits on a shelf above the TV, not as a reminder of what we lost, but of what we built in its place. A monument to boundaries, resilience, and the quiet joy of starting over. Sometimes I catch myself staring at it, tracing the lines of the ship with my eyes. It's not perfect. A few mismatched bricks, a sticker slightly crooked, but it's ours. And that's enough. It's been 2 months since we saw them at that birthday party. 2 months of stillness, laughter, and no one calling to ask for favors wrapped in family language. The world didn't collapse. Nothing burned down. The only thing that fell apart was the illusion that I needed them to be okay. Jonah's different now, steadier. He doesn't flinch when people disappoint him. He doesn't take rejection as a reflection of his worth. Maybe that's what growing up looks like, learning that love shouldn't have to be earned, and that sometimes walking away is how you teach people what you'll no longer allow. I think that's what I've learned too. Family doesn't mean forever owed. It doesn't mean silence in exchange for acceptance. It means honesty. It means respect. And when those things disappear, so does the obligation to stay. We didn't lose a family. We lost an anchor that was keeping us from sailing anywhere new. So now it's just me, Jonah, and Chewie, planning birthdays, building Legos, cooking burnt pizza, and laughing too loud. It's quieter, yes, but it's a quiet I fought for, a quiet that feels like peace instead of punishment. Because when you finally stop carrying people who only love you for what you can give them, the only thing you lose is the weight you were never meant to bear.